welcome everybody to Black Tea. I'm your host, Michelle Lawrence, and you are watching an interview series that is all about Black women in advertising, presented by Muse by Cleo. Today, I am joined by the amazing Tynesha Williams. Tynesha Williams is near and dear to my heart. She's been a great mentor to me over the last couple of years of my career. Tynesha, please tell the people what you do and where you're based.
What I do. Hello. I am based in Los Angeles, and I am newly the executive creative director of an agency called 3 a.m.
3 a.m. Okay, that's
Yeah. And that does not mean that we stay up to 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Yeah.
I should hope not. I'm newly going into an agency called Laundry Service. Their URL is 24/7 laundry service, and we definitely do not. 7.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's hope these are just cute names.
Yeah, just cute names.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, so how did you get into advertising in the first place?
I love telling this story, by the way, because it just shows how important exposure is, especially in our community. Because growing up, I'm from Detroit. Growing up, I didn't know any ad people. Advertising, you don't know that. Like, in the Black community back then, it was the typical jobs. And to be successful, you were a lawyer, you were a teacher, you were a doctor. Didn't know any ad people. So I didn't know the business at all. But I am a TV junkie, and I still am. And I used to watch a TV show in the 80s. I just dated myself, but yes, in the 80s, called Who's the Boss? And the woman on that show, the character, Angela Bauer, she was in advertising. And they would always, they would show her at her agency, and she's got like these high-powered suits on with the shoulder pads. And I was like, yo, she is living large. Like, she had a nice house in Connecticut. And then they would sometimes show the work from the agency. So you would hear jingles and things like that. And I was like, that's something I would like to do. And that's what turned me into advertising, is literally from television. Mm-hmm. And I just started going down that path and I started off writing things, writing jingles and headlines and things like that. And when I was in middle school, my teacher was like, you're very good at writing these little lines. So she would call me down to write lines for the other kids' posters. And she was like, yeah, I think this is a good career for you. And I just have been on that path ever since.
That's nice. You never know what difference you make as a teacher. So
I know. Look at that. Yes, former teacher.
Does she know to this day that she inspired you to get into?
I don't know where that woman is.
Well,
but I wish her well. Miss Smith was her name, and she was the art teacher in a school in Detroit. And have no idea where Miss Smith is, but thank you. You did send me on that path.
Amazing. So you have a very storied career in advertising. You've created a lot of dope work right now. What is one of your career dreams or ambitions that you haven't realized yet?
Ooh, I don't know. I gotta say my goals change in the business, right? Depending on where the industry is, depending on what I've already achieved. Like every person gets into advertising wanting awards, right? Because we've learned that, or we've been taught, I won't say we learned, I don't know if we learned it, but we've been taught that, we should be recognized by our peers. Like, that's very important. And so that was definitely one of my goals, is like, I gotta get a lion. I gotta get a pencil. I gotta get all these things, right? I gotta get Cleos. And then I started to get these, and I have some of them, thank goodness. And then it's like, okay, cool. But I don't know, it was like, I was like, I'm gonna reach the mountaintop, guys. That's the mountaintop, these awards. Then I got up there and I was like, is this the view up here? It's like, okay, it's cool, but it's not that big of a deal. So I've done that. I've had some of those. I want more. I love, I love winning. You know that about me, Michelle. So I like doing that. But I don't know honestly, what I want next. I just love being at places where I can try new things. And I would love to do some ads and things that have never been done in the industry, that is always the North Star. Like, what's the new thing that you can introduce, or you can use a technology that no one's used or something like that? That is always my ambition. I guess I'm always chasing that. And if I do something that no one's ever done, okay, what's the next thing someone's never done? Because you want to be that person that starts it, and then now everybody's doing it. It becomes standard.
I think it's important to show the various ways that kind of goal setting can happen. Because I think everybody, like, I gotta have this, like, I have to have everything figured out at the beginning where I want it to end up. And it's nice to know that, like, you don't, you know what I mean? Like, goals can evolve and change as you evolve.
They evolve. They evolve. Yeah.
I think it's real important. So you are a creative. You've been a creative the entire time that you've been in advertising. If you had to work in another department under the gun, besides your own department, which one would you pick?
Okay, this is gonna be weird, but I kind of always, and this person's not in an ad agency, but it's adjacent. I've always kind of been into retouching.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm definitely somebody who likes pushing pixels. I could be in Photoshop for 18 hours straight, moving the mouse, moving pixels. So I've always enjoyed retouching. So I could be that. If anybody wants to hire me for a retoucher, part-time, I could help you out.
Yeah. And I feel that way too. Sometimes it's nice to just have like a private thing that you're just doing with your hands. You know what I mean? If you have so much selling and convincing people that our ideas are the right thing, sometimes it's like, let me just work in my program, just me and my program, making decisions.
I'll tell you, that's Photoshop.
I don't know if you strayed that much out of your department, but I'll give it to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, well, yeah. I don't have another one. Oh, strategy. I'll take that. Strategy. I love strategy, right? Because for me, strategy and creative go hand in hand. Like, you can't have one without the other. Not good creative. So I've always been into that part too, and just like breaking down a consumer, breaking down a brand, like trying to get into that human insight has always been super interesting to me. So I guess I'll say strategy, since my retouching was not far enough off the block.
I mean, both are fine answers, but one is a cheat answer. So the world in our industry is in like a weird place right now. Everybody knows that. But if you could solve one problem within the industry, what would it be, and how do you think it should be tackled?
It's funny. I've been thinking about this lately, because I just think of over the years when I hear people and we just couldn't find any people of color, good people to work in the agency, right? And then, like, when I've talked to people over the years, it's like, well, I see a lot of people of color, like, that are newbies that need to get into the industry. And it's always, well, I looked at their book and it wasn't great. But yet, I've seen agencies hire people outside of advertising, right? Like, everybody wants to get improv people and sketch comedy people. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, they don't know advertising either, right? So, like, your excuse of they don't know the business and blah, blah, blah doesn't work. So I wish people would just be willing to grow people, right? I mean, it's an industry. When I was a junior, you still had to grow me. Right? It's like, I went to ad school and that was super helpful, but I still don't know anything. Like, I still got to come in and you got to teach me the same way you're teaching someone else. And there are creatives out there, people of color who may not know advertising, but the same way that you think of the improv kids and the sketch comedy kids, think of them. Like, there are people who are fantastic artists or are doing great poetry out there. It's like, grab these guys and give them a shot in the business, and you can teach them. They know they can teach them. So I think that people have hid behind that excuse for a long time, and it kind of gets to me, because I'm like, oh, I see the other things you do. So you can do that too, right? So I think that's one thing I would say that kind of bothers me. I don't have a lot of things I want to change, but the industry is forever changing anyway. Like, it's different. It's different than when I first got into business. It's forever changing. But that part has not changed a lot. And the only reason why it's changing now, if I'm totally honest, is because brands are kind of holding a gun to agencies' heads, and they're like, you're gonna find these people of color, you're gonna find them now. Okay. So that's what people are doing. So now everybody's running around and looking for these people when they've always been there, right? So I guess.
I feel like our agency has, or sorry, not our agency, our industry has a little bit of a whiz kid fetish, right? They love this idea of someone who just comes in, you don't have to teach them anything. They're young, they're snappy, and they know social media, but also they just don't need any grooming. Their ideas are so great. And it's just like, I don't know if it's still that way, but when I was starting as a junior, it just seemed like,
Yeah.
People had like their picks of like, ooh, that person's got the sauce, and this person
Yeah.
have the sauce. And it's like, no, you teach the sauce, you groom the sauce, you grow the sauce. Like,
Yeah.
have to be something so like that you enter with all polished up and ready, you know?
Yeah. Well, two sides of the coin there, right? So there is, you can't teach talent.
Sure.
Right? You can't teach talent. So you do need to find, and so that is a little bit of the sauce. So I do need to look at your stuff, and I have to be able to see some talent in there, right? But it's got to be talent that you go, okay, they don't quite understand sentence structure, or they didn't quite do the right visual for that. That isn't telling the story that I know they're trying to tell. That I can help with. Right, you can help tweak that, and you can help give them the lessons that you've learned, and the things that you know work better, and the photo is going to do better if it does this. I can teach that. I cannot teach talent though. So if I see some stuff and it's like, yeah, I'm not sure what this person's talent is, maybe not, right? But if I look at somebody, it's like, wow, this person's composition, even in this fine art or this whatever they've done, this illustration, wow, right? I can tell that that person can tell a story sometimes through their illustration style. Great. Like I can get that person and try to work with them. So I just wanted to say that because I was like, hold on now, hold on. I can't teach everything, Michelle.
So,
okay.
What a skill that you feel like you've picked up on as time has gone by, being able to tell the difference between, where the talent is there, but the polish isn't, and the talent just ain't there. And if so, like, how do you message that to folks? Like, or do you?
How do I message that the talent isn't there when I'm looking
like,
at
if you're, when did you learn to make that distinction? Is it something that you've kind of grown an eye for, or is it like more instinctual to where you can look at it and just be like, no?
I think it's a bit of both, right? So there are some things that you just have a reaction to. It's like you look at some things and go, that's amazing. Like I don't have to, we're all on the, I know it's agency who has the term undeniably dope. And that is true, right? Because some things I can look at, that's undeniable, right? But there's other things that over the years I have learned to be able to unpack it a little bit, where I'm like, okay, that headline's corny, but I get what they're trying to say. Or like I said, the visual's not quite right, but I get where they were going with it. So I can kind of see that. Right. I can tell from that. And just because, you know what, I had the same struggles going through. I remember my very first portfolio I made was terrible. It was full of puns. I remember I was making Lysol ads and they were terrible. Okay. And I remember showing it to the ad school, and the guy's comments in the interview were, well, we're going to work on those puns. Okay. He was like, but I kind of see where you're going here. I can see some talent. Okay, great. So I feel like that's where I am now. It's like I can look at it and go, yeah. But a lot of stuff I can deem they're rookie mistakes. Yeah. Right? We all do that because we have an idea what an ad should be. This is what an ad looks like. My best friend calls them ad-like objects. And that's what we all end up making, like ad-like objects. When you get there, it's like, well, yeah. And then someone just needs to finesse you. Like I have a CD comes in and says, hey, you need to attack the line this way, right? Or they tell you, hey, these colors are off, or your hierarchy. There is none, things like that. So
that makes sense. Spoken like a seasoned creative director.
Yeah.
How has your unique POV as a Black woman kind of influenced the way that you work, how you show up for work in creative, or in general in a predominantly Black industry?
Yeah, that's interesting. I gotta be totally honest. I don't often think about it being a predominantly white industry. I just do me all day, right? And I think I have had the benefit of starting at a Black agency. And I think when you start at multicultural agencies, you definitely get to be your full self. So I'm bringing my full self all the time. So bringing your full self is natural. So when I go over to other places, I'm just me, right? Whereas I think other people, when they start at the other agencies, you don't get that,
That's true.
you know,
I did it the
that,
other way around. I started at, a general market agency, if you will, and definitely got used to, trying to shrink and observe, more so than like bringing my full personality. And then
yeah.
I went to multicultural spaces from there, and it felt like, oh, okay, this is chill. So
I
yeah,
would definitely say you bring your full self, Michelle.
well, now I do. You guys were the first multicultural. By the time we worked together, it was my second multicultural agency, and I was feeling a little loose. But definitely, yeah, interesting to do it. Yeah, to do it from the other way around. That's cool because you go in with that foundation of confidence and being showing up that way at work. That's cool.
And it's funny that sometimes people will try to rock that because even when I came up in the multicultural agencies, there were times when clients would say things that would kind of like shake your confidence. So it was like, oh, well, maybe bringing my full self is not right. And I at the beginning would try to adjust myself, right? It's like, and sometimes in presentations, I got to say, not in the agency itself, but sometimes in client presentations, that's way in the back of my head because someone told me that years ago. Well, the client is afraid of you. It's like, afraid of me. Like, I think I'm a very friendly and outgoing and welcoming person. But I was like afraid of me. Like, why? Like, so I'm like, oh, is it maybe because my voice has bass in it? Right. It's like, maybe I should lighten my voice. It was like things like that. And then it was like, I don't do it now, but it's always back there.
Yeah.
I like, it's always back there. And I got to go, nah, you're just going to talk the way you talk. You're going to do you. Right. You're not going to lighten your voice or whatever. I'm going to bring all the bass because I got the bass and it's coming. Right. Sometimes people try to tell you being your full self is still not the way to be, but it is always the way to be. Now, when I say bring your full self, I don't mean you're reading everybody in a meeting. Okay. It's like, no, don't bring all that. Like there is still a professionalism that you need to have, but you do need to be you. Right? You need to be you. You need to tell the jokes that you tell, laugh at what you want to laugh. If you don't think that joke is funny, I'm not laughing at it. I don't have to pretend like it's funny. Right? Like so many times you're like, it's like, I don't even think that's funny. So if I don't think it's funny, it's like, okay, it's not funny to me.
I like the work laugh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about inspiration. What are your favorite sounds right now? What are some sounds? It could be music, it could be podcast, it could be meditation, whatever is like, it could be a sermon, just whatever is giving you life right now from an audible perspective.
Okay, that's funny. I'm going to keep giving you, these answers are not the ones you want, Michelle, I promise you. But you know what sound I'm loving right now is the sound of my drone, okay? Because I got a drone, and when that puppy goes off and lifts into the air, it brings me the most joy, okay? It's like, I'm trying to learn to be a drone pilot. So I've been playing with my drone, and when I hear that thing of over there, it's like, yeah, I love it. It just makes me so happy.
That's a perfect answer.
No, I was like, I'm not going to say the ocean if that's what you were looking for. I'm listening to brown noise right now in the ocean, and it's fantastic. No, it's the sound of my drone, folks. That's awesome. What I'm loving.
Listen, we're a diverse, are diverse as Black women, and that's amazing. Yes. I will always be surprised by people's answer to that question, and I think that's awesome. Lastly, I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to brag on yourself. So I would like to know what contribution, what piece of work are you most proud of and why? It doesn't have to be a piece of work, but it can be a more vague contribution, or it can be a piece of work. But something that you feel like, you know what? I did that shit. And it was dope.
Yeah, it's so easy. It's my favorite project. And I've done a lot of projects over the years. I mean, I've been in the business a while, but I've been in the business a while. And this is always my favorite project. And so I did this project. I don't think I should say brand names on the show. Am I correct?
I mean, it's an advertising journalistic.
Okay, let's say it was a telecommunications company. It was a telecommunications company, and they wanted to show how their product could work with small businesses. And we went all out and did this social experiment, and this was before social was big. And we found a Black woman who wanted to start a business, and the whole idea is we put her in a storefront where she had to live in that storefront for 21 days with nothing. She was in an empty storefront. We only gave her the products of the brand, and she had to get her business off the ground in 21 days. And I love that. One, many reasons why I love it. One, had no idea how to do it when we sold it. It's like you walk out to me, yeah, we should do this, bam. And then the client goes, yeah, and we walked out. How are we going to do that? We don't know how to do that. So figuring that out was great. But even on a deeper level, the relationship and the way I felt working with that Black woman was amazing. Like I really got invested in her and like what she, just trying to help her. And there was nights when we were crying, and like to see when she was like making breakthroughs and stuff. And it was like, oh my God. And I still keep in contact with her. This was years ago. This was 15 years ago. Okay.
Wow.
I still talk to her every now and then on Facebook. She's doing great. The business that she was working on, she still does today.
That's awesome.
And it is awesome. It is my all-time favorite project.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for this time. Thanks for talking with me. Thanks for being on Black Tea. It's always a pleasure.
And if there's anything that I said that the public doesn't like, please refer all your tweets to Michelle Lawrence at Black Tea. Yeah. The comments are the problem of the network here. Not the
network. All right. Yeah. Well, I think it'll be fine. Thanks so much for putting in the time, everybody. Tynesha Williams, Ty, as she likes to go by. Thank you so much.
Michelle Lawrence, one of my favorite people that's ever been on my team. A great creative, brilliant woman, and dope Black chick. A little hip hop, bam, bam.
Bam, bam. All right, I'm gonna cry on this one. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. That's been our episode of Black Tea. Please go check out more episodes at musebycleo.com/Black Tea. Bye.